Hello everyone, and welcome to a brand new episode of TVG Talk. My name is Paco Trevino, and today, as always, I'm joined by Lauro Chapa.
Hey guys.
How are you doing, Lauro?
Very good, thanks, and you?
Thank you. I'm very fine as well.
Nice.
So today we'll be talking about a very different type of video. We'll be kind of pitching each other or pitching to the audience
Right.
The Netflix adaptation kind of craze going on about video games, about what could be made next. We are big fans of the Castlevania series, and we've seen a bunch of other properties being adapted. So we thought it would be fun to pitch each other kind of a couple ideas that we have and tell us what you think about them. So, Lauro, why don't we start with you? What's your first pitch?
Sure. I'm gonna pick one of my most unique ones first.
Okay.
Netflix has been going on a anime craze as of late. They've been producing lots of animes, even buying some anime studios, I believe. So I would like to see a Tekken Anime. You know how in animes the most exciting thing, most of the times, is the tournament arc. You know, those tournaments from Dragon Ball, Naruto, My Hero Academia. There's always so much hype seeing, you know, how a character trains and progresses and then is put up against another character. And sometimes, you know, that character is maybe not necessarily stronger, but their abilities counter each other, and you get really cool animations from the fight scenes and whatnot. And I feel like Tekken has lots of characters for that, you know, and there's even a tournament in Tekken lore, so it's perfect for that. The King of the Iron Fist tournament, you know.
Right.
And there's also lots of things for the history, you know, the drama with who owns the Mishima Saibatsu Corporation. Is Heihachi dead? Where is the grandfather of Kazuya? Who's the real mother of Jin? You know, why is he a demon? You know, the devil Jin and whatnot. There's lots of things they could explore. I was even thinking, I wanted to include a fighting game property, and I was like, yeah, they could do Street Fighter, but they kind of have done that already. King of Fighters, I think, doesn't have that much lore. It's basically just a tournament. So yeah, I think Tekken has the most rich history. I think the story in Tekken is sometimes the best. You know, maybe just beat by Mortal Kombat, but Mortal Kombat is sometimes very convoluted, and we like it because of that. So yeah, and Tekken Anime. I would like it to be done by Studio Pierrot. I'm not super familiar with lots of anime studios. This studio has made Naruto, and I love the animation in that. So I feel like they could do a good job. I know that some people don't love it. You know, they have made some not great stuff, but I would trust them that they could do something good with this.
Okay, that's a very interesting idea. So you would want them to follow up on Tekken 7?
Not necessarily. I think that we could adapt it from the beginning, you know, from the first tournament, because I mean, following from Tekken 7, we already had 7 tournaments because each Tekken is a tournament, and
right.
I would really want to see that. You know, sometimes in Tekken games, it is not always clear who won that year's or that specific tournament, or what happened with some characters. So I would love to see them flesh out each and every Tekken, so we can see who won each tournament, where the characters, what are their relationships with one another.
Okay, yeah, I was kind of confused because of some plot points that you talked about.
Sure.
Yeah, it's a very interesting idea. I mean, it certainly has a lot of lore. Like, it's one of those series that kind of deceptively is simple, but at the same time, it has a lot of stuff underneath.
Yeah.
Then, like, with clones and cyborgs and all these characters. So yeah, it's very... Yeah, there's a lot of potential there. I think that you could do something really crazy with it.
Yeah. I think that they could get tons of episodes out of this.
Yeah, I mean, 7 seasons worth at least. You know,
Sure.
if they made one game per season.
At least.
Yeah. So I'd like to talk about my first pitch.
Sure.
Uh, so I have a Metroid movie pitch. It could be
Nice.
for streaming or whatever, but uh, what I would like them to do is this very like almost silent movie. There are a lot of movies that are very good at communicating without dialogue. For example, The Revenant is one that I think, of course, the bar is super high, mentioned in that example, but it's a movie with very few dialogue, or better put, long stretches without dialogue or very minimal dialogue. And I think that Metroid could really benefit from something like that because the series itself is very visuals driven, is very subtle, is very, all these elements to it. I think that one of the ideas that really sparked, I'm sorry, one of the examples that really sparked kind of this idea was the storytelling in Samus Returns. I think that it was very effective at kind of like, because that game has a very pivotal story. And before that, it was all like on the manual of the original game and all that. But on the remake, they have these visuals where just looking at some mannerisms and just looking at certain events really makes you understand those characters. So I think that a movie like that, where maybe we have two timelines, or not timelines, but two like time pieces, where
Perspectives.
maybe, yeah, perspectives. Yeah, that's a good word for it. Where we have maybe Samus when she was younger, and then that becomes relevant on her time alone on Zeves, or whatever the story might be.
Sure.
I guess it would be good to make it about the first Metroid, but I think that you can flesh it out way more if you made it about maybe Super Metroid, because the story is very similar. You kind of have a lot of the same story beats, but you could address, all the past events and really enrich that movie. That's the way that I guess that I would do it.
Sure.
And yeah, a Metroid movie. I don't really have a cast in mind in particular. I mean, there's a lot of actresses that have been like, oh, I want to do it, but I'm personally not super into any of them. So yeah, I mean, I don't really, I didn't think about it in particular, but I can think about the style, about the plot points, like I mentioned, and yeah, a Metroid movie.
Sure. So most of the video game adaptations I like the most are, series, whether they be live actions or animated. And I think Metroid is a game with lots of lore. It has lots of entries. What makes you suggest a movie rather than a series, for example?
I like a lot of the shrouding in mystery that the games do. And I think that a movie would be more effective at maybe introduce the Chozo and kind of their society and their technology, but still leave you with that shroud of mystery. I feel that a lot of series, especially prequel series, tend to overexpose things, and a movie can be very like razor sharp, precise on what you're showing the audience and kind of the implications that might have,
Sure. So I also had a Metroid pitch, and I was sort of like inspired by the Mandalorian series, which I think that it's sort of one of the best series we had as of late. And I think that does what you say. It only gives us exactly what we need. It's kind of slow paced, very like visual, and there's really very little dialogue, especially said by the main character. So I was kind of thinking some of that. I even thought of maybe the showrunner could be Deborah Chow, which she directs some of the best episodes, in my opinion, of Mandalorian, and she's, I think, the showrunner and director for the Obi-Wan series, the upcoming one, I think so too. And so yeah, I was kind of thinking of her. And I even like the casting idea of Brie Larson. I think she's a great actress, and I think that she would give an interesting take for Samus. But I also think that I want her to be a compelling character. Like I want to like Samus. So I don't know if I love the idea of it being too silent, because I don't know. I feel like Samus has a lot to say, and So yeah, I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, a series could work, especially if you. I think that for a series you would have to deviate a lot from the games. You know, I
Yes.
hear a Metroid series. I imagine kind of the story for Metroid Prime Hunters and kind of the background that they allude to in Metroid Prime 3, where we have these hunters and they are competing and they have to kind of kill each other and betray each other or work together sometimes, things like that. I think that that kind of situation is what would work on a Metroid series.
Yeah.
I mean, kind of uh, kind of retrofit the IP into that because
Sure.
I mean I wouldn't have anything against it. You know, I was really pleasantly surprised by how different Castlevania was
Yeah.
to what I expected, but it's certainly not what I would have thought of. You know,
Sure.
so for a Metroid series, like I guess that would work, but I don't know if that's what I would want. You know. And maybe it would be really
Right.
good, but that's not maybe what I would have wanted. That's kind of my thing. And Brie Larson, you know, I'm not really a fan of her. I don't know, for a bunch of reasons. So, I mean, I probably would still watch it, but would I pick her? Not really, you know.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it would be very interesting to see kind of their own take on the IP. I guess it would leave them with more artistic freedom to do it as a series, like you suggest.
Mhm.
You know? So, I guess that since we both kind of did our Metroid ones, I guess that it's
Yeah.
my turn again.
Sure.
So I would like to. I was watching some series and some movies that had a lot of kind of cyberpunk neon aesthetic to them. One of them was a Transformers series that Netflix produced. It's very short, just like 5 or so episodes, and it's about their last like days or weeks on Cybertron before the big apocalyptic event. You know, so. The visuals are kind of bleak, but at the same time, you can tell that there was a lot of technology, a lot of things in there. And I think that franchise that would be primed to something like that is the Mega Man series. Because, you know, Mega Man has these allusions to a very big city and a very big landscape. We've seen it on games like Mega Man 2 and on the Mega Man Online canceled game. They have this animation that had these large cities with all these lights. So I think that I would like to capture that on a series about Mega Man. Animated series, of course. 2D, 3D, I think that any of them could work. And the other kind of more specific idea that I have is the boss battle, so to speak. Every episode could be just themed or named after a robot master, and Mega Man fights them at some point. And I would really like them to do them kind of like music videos. So and you know use the music from that level, from that robot master, and kind of pace them on a very like rhythmic and fast way. Very stylistic. That's the way that I imagine it, because the Mega Man games are themselves very stylistic. So that's kind of my pitch for the Mega Man animated series. You know, very
Nice.
different from the one that was produced. I'd say.
So, knowing the Mega Man IP and hearing your idea about the music videos with each boss character, would you say that you're pitching like a fully serious series, like tone-wise? Because I always think of Mega Man like it doesn't take itself too seriously. Like it's kind of jokey in some way. So I don't know. Were you thinking something like that, or were you going full on like serious stuff?
Not really. I mean, I did wonder about doing a Mega Man or a Mega Man X kind of pitch, you know, which one. And this was actually an idea to maybe also do X. And yeah, on X I was thinking like a very serious tone, and see how robots get like the viruses. And on the Mega Man, I forget if it was on a Maverick Hunter or if it was on one of the later games that they had these kind of zombie Mavericks. I think that really like dark themes and whatnot could be more so tackled with X.
Sure.
But Mega Man could have a kind of lighthearted view, like Mega Man himself and the characters around him. But you know, there were always very bleak implications to the Mega Man story. Yes. So I think that it doesn't have to be very, like, it doesn't have to be Sonic Boom. You know, I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Like, it doesn't have to be full on a comedy.
I hope that is not Sonic Boom.
I mean, the cartoon has its moments. I saw a couple episodes, but you know, whatever. So I'd say that not necessarily like serious, but not like Castlevania or anything like that, you know. So that's my pitch for the Mega Man show.
Yeah, that sounds cool. And you know, with the music videos, like in the boss battles or whatever, do you think, or I don't know what you think, that it would become old? You know, like, okay, here comes another boss battle with another music video. Like, how would you do to keep that fresh in a way?
So, I mean, when you think about it, the boss battle can be like 2 minutes long, and every boss and every stage has like its own very distinctive ideas. I think that as you are using those ideas, you kind of have the video, you know. For example, let's say that you are doing Elecman, you know, and you have the blinking lights, and suddenly everything is dark, and like with just like sparks of light and whatnot. And then you have Gutsman, and he's like with these giant structures of rock and whatnot. I think that you could be very creative with them, and if you really exploit the theming of each one, I think that you could even do like crazy things, you know, with each one of them. I think that if the series, you know, carried for too long, we would start seeing like, okay, so there's a couple electric theme, fire theme, water theme, robot masters, but that's like a worry that would happen down the line, you know, not necessarily something that you would encounter on the first few seasons even. So what would your next pitch be?
So my next one, one of the most disappointing video game adaptations I got to see, I mean, there's a lot, but one of the ones that hurt the most was Assassin's Creed. So I wanted to make an Assassin's Creed live action series, directed if possible by Peter Jackson, or maybe not directed, because you know, sometimes each episode is directed by different directors, but you know, written and show run by him. Didn't really think about the cast, but I would want them to adapt, you know, like from 1 to 3, I guess, and then like go on their own, because you know what happens in 3, and then everything went south from that. So like 1, 2 Brotherhood, Revelations, and 3, I would sort of want them to do like just as they are, just adapted to live action, to do what you must for that, and then maybe veer off. I don't know if the creator of Assassin's Creed could have some input in that. I don't know who it really is or whatever. So yeah, I think that this would have to be a very high budget series, like lots of money go into this, because I think that there's sort of lots of action set pieces and locations that they would have to use for it to look really good. So yeah, I want an Assassin's Creed live action series.
Okay. One of the creators of the series, her name is Jade Raymond. She's still on the industry, but she's not part of Ubisoft anymore. So I don't know, Ubisoft is kind of weird with how they treat the Assassin's Creed as an IP. You know, they kind of don't see it as an IP as much as they see it as an open world thing.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, that's the greatest hits of Assassin's Creed right there. I don't think that you would need any more than that. I think that you would be entertained with that for a bunch of years. I mean, the
Yeah, yeah,
Ezio saga alone gives you plenty of material, um, from his birth all the way to his death.
yeah.
So yeah, and in my opinion, Ezio is a very cool character that we saw a full trilogy of him. So
Mhm.
uh, and people really got to like him and know him, and I think that on a series you only would have even more of that. So yeah, I mean, it's a great idea.
Mhm.
And how would you divide it? For example, like every game would be a season or something like that, or
I don't know. I feel like some games could even have more than a season. I mean, I know it sounds like very ambitious, but I think that the first Assassin's Creed. I mean, if they wouldn't start with Ezio, if they started with Altair, he could easily have 2 seasons, and Ezio, I don't know, he could have 4 or even 5. There's lots of other materials they could get story from. Not only the games, there's the animated movie, and I believe there's some comic books and whatnot. So they could also grab stuff from there. So I think that they have lots to pick from.
right? And I would argue that you should do the Altair story first, or at some
Yes.
point at least, because they then connect a lot in Revelations.
Yeah.
And I think it would be really cool if the audience had the context of first seeing him and then having him there.
Yeah, definitely.
So
Yeah, because
yeah,
I think some of the stuff in Revelations wouldn't work if you don't know Altair and stuff from the first Assassin's Creed.
right. Yeah, I agree completely. And I mean, it would be a very kind of difficult story to make, in the sense that
Yeah.
you have the Middle East with Altair, and then you have Italy
Europe.
with Ezio, and
Mhm.
then you have, well, first you have like Florence, and then you have Rome, and then he goes to Russia. Well, I think so. Yeah, no,
No,
Constantinople.
Turkey, no? Turkey?
Yeah, Constantinople. I think it's
Oh.
the place that he is in. Well,
Mhm.
although it's been forever since I played
Yeah.
Revelation, so I could be wrong.
Yeah.
And then you have America with Raton Naketten,
Connor?
Connor, yeah,
Yeah.
Connor.
And the present day. I mean, I would want them to do stuff in the present day too.
Right. So, yeah, it's in terms of being like, it's perhaps the most ambitious project as far as the production so far.
Yeah, that's what I said. Throw all the budget to it.
Yeah, it certainly would need it. But yeah, it's a really cool idea. I mean, it would be really cool if they did it, because, like you said at the beginning of your pitch, Assassin's Creed, like movie, is probably the biggest disappointment that I've had in terms of movies, because it's the one that looked like it could be good.
Yeah.
And Michael Fassbender is a really good actor, and he was producing it, and all these things, and it was garbage. So
Yeah. Yes,
yeah.
it was.
So I guess it's time to get to my last pitch, and surprise, it's a Zelda one.
What?
I was thinking, like, I definitely wanted to include one about Zelda. In fact, I was limiting myself to just one. But
Like Zelda the character?
No, about the IP. The IP.
Right.
So what I kind of thought of for this video, I want to make a series about the Hero of Time, about the one that appears on Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, because I think that for his continuity you can make a lot of seasons. So of course, starting with him as a kid on the Kokiri Forest and all that, and I think that the first season could end with him lifting the Master Sword and kind of leaving it at a cliffhanger. And then the second season starts with him as an adult, and he goes back in time and all of that. and kind of finish off the story of Ocarina of Time on that second season. Obviously, it would be a little bit longer, or with longer episodes, one of the two or both. And then I would like them to do Majora's Mask as a third season.
Nice.
I mean, that game certainly gives you material for more, but I think that if you made it very concise, very well thought out episodes, you could make a very, very good one season of Majora's Mask. And so the way that I would kind of connect everything is giving the backstory of how Ganondorf revived into a mortal form, and the point of view of Zelda as well. Now I am talking about the princess, and give you maybe of Saria or Link, the Goron. All these characters. I think that you could give them some development in their kind of this very large, really epic scale to it. And I was thinking about specifically for Majora's Mask, and therefore I think for the rest of the series, I think that someone that could really magic with this series is Guillermo del Toro. He has a very unique style. If you see movies like the Pan's Labyrinth, his style there is really dark and fantasy driven. So I think that he would be fantastic for Majora's Mask. In fact, he would be perfect for that, but he would be fantastic also for the Ocarina of Time stuff. So I would think of him. And if you wanted to make it even further, you could even make the Twilight Princess story and connect the Hero Shade and all of that. So you could make a really long series with it, and it has a lot of characters that you could develop, and they all become really important in their own way. And yeah, I mean, a Legend of Zelda series based on the Hero of Time.
Nice. Yeah, so I guess I have lots of questions because I love this. I don't know if I didn't pay attention or if you didn't say so, but is this animated or live action you were thinking?
So at first I was thinking animated, but then I thought it would be really awesome to see this as live action, because animated, I think that Zelda could, it's funny because Zelda could go either way. And perhaps other series or other games in the series, I would say animated. But Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, I think that you could, for example, especially in Majora's Mask, I think that you could do very, very scary imagery and like very intense things in live action that I don't think that animated would translate it that way, I think that animation kind of helps alleviate, for example, gore in terms of, for example, the Castlevania series, and some of the more dark elements are kind of, and I think that Majora's Mask could be the other way around, where the fact that it's live action kind of gives even more weight to that,
Sure.
And I wasn't even considering like a cast or anything. I don't think that you have to get superstars,
Right. So would you want them to adapt the games just as they are and maybe sort of get things like from Hyrule Historia and other things, or would you want them to expand each game?
So it's definitely not just adapt them, because it's a different medium. Storytelling is completely different. Like the most effective storytelling on each medium has to be tailored, to each one. So, for example, I think that they can get away with a silent protagonist on a video game, not so much in a movie. He has to talk. He could be like a silent type. The Witcher pulled it off, but he would have to talk to some degree. But that's one thing. And in terms of the lore of Hyrule Historia and all of that, I was kind of counting on expanding on that.
Nice.
for example, they address some things. For example, how the Kokiri become Skull Kids, and then humans become.
Yep.
So things like that, I think that could be even shown on the series. Like, oh, you know, maybe the background of Skull Kid, kind of like how we saw the background of Smeagol, you know, and how it became Gollum, and maybe we could see that for Skull Kid, and then that foreshadows into Majora's Mask, like 2 seasons later, you know, something like that.
Yeah, I would love
could
that.
really be a cool storytelling that, while it's present in the games, I think that it could be much more explored in a completely tailored, you know, medium to that.
Yeah. So we know Zelda has lots of games and a really like convoluted kind of timeline. So I guess my question is, why start with Ocarina? You know, why not, you know, start from the beginning, or even a little bit back? You know, maybe Skyward Sword, or, you know, adapt the first comic book or whatnot.
So I think that the original manga, which has now been kind of tested in terms of its canonicity, or I don't know the word. People don't know canonicity. If we made Skyward Sword, I think that would be a really good prologue to it. I don't think that you can flesh the original hero, that much, because I think that you get the point across kind of quickly, that he was kind of a renegade, and then he redeems himself and is reincarnated because Hylia blessed him.
Mm-hmm.
I think that could be, alongside the story of Skyward Sword, made into a epic movie, maybe 3 hours or so.
Sure.
I think that you could do a really good movie of that, because I think that the story of that is very self-contained, and it spins off into this massive franchise. But I think that story is even very cinematic in the game, and I think that you could do a movie with that. And Ocarina of Time, I was thinking about the storytelling that you could do across multiple seasons, and that was the reason I went with that.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, you could do Skyward Sword, and I think that if you made Skyward Sword, a really cool sequel to that could be Breath of the Wild, because even though they are the two ends of the timeline, since it's the same director, he kind of connected Skyward Sword into Breath of the Wild a lot. So you could do that, or you could do animated movies of Wind Waker, Phantom Hourglass, Spirit Tracks. You know, if I mean, these are things that I've thought of since I was a little kid. You know, like what could be a Zelda movie like?
Right.
And so, I mean, you could look at this from a ton of angles, but I thought, you know, I'm gonna flesh out one and expose it for this video. But yeah, I mean, that's my Zelda pitch for Netflix or Amazon Prime, whoever wants
Disney.
to fund it. Disney.
They have money.
They all do, and we don't. That's why we discuss them.
Right.
So what would be your next pitch, or better put, do you have another pitch?
Sure, I do.
Okay.
So I think sort of a different pitch, you know, because we've been talking lots of, you know, live action and Japanese style animation. I would want to make like an American style animation of Golf Story, or Sports Story sequel. It's an indie game. I played on the Switch, and I thought, you know, apart from the gameplay, which is mostly what I focus on all of the time, I really like the story. I really connected with the characters. I think it's like really funny and sarcastic and dumb, and like I really love to follow it. So I think that a American type cartoon would be great for it. You know, I was thinking sort of like, you know, Rick and Morty, you know, but not that, because that's crazy and that's R-rated. So sort of a thing, kind of like that, sort of Adventure Time, or some of these cartoons. Yeah, I would love to see that.
Yeah, you know, I think that American animation is kind of underrated, almost, I'd say, in terms of its quality. I think that a lot of people brush it off and say, "Oh, anime or whatever." But I'd say that a very good series that popped up a couple of years ago, I think literally 2 years ago or one, was the DuckTales one.
Yeah.
And listening to your pitch, I kind of pictured something like that, like really like the blocky style, the really like adventurous vibe, and every episode could be something completely different, really fresh. I was thinking something like that. I don't know. What were you thinking in terms of style? You mentioned Rick and Morty, but
yeah, not that kind of style. In terms of animation, you mean?
Yeah, animation. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think DuckTales is a perfect sort of example. One of the, I don't remember if she's a showrunner or director or writer in DuckTales, made her own series with Disney, Dana Terrence, and it's called The Owl House, and I've been watching that. The season finale just finished last weekend, I think, and I love that series. I really recommend it to you, by the way. And so yeah, I've been watching some American animation. I also watched DuckTales, the latest season, I think the second one, right? I finished that not long ago. Or it hasn't finished. I think it's in hiatus, right? Like mid-season, something like that.
I think so. I don't really I try to not catch series until they're done.
Oh, right.
I have this weird habit. But
no, I love that style, and I think that it would fit perfectly for this too.
Okay, yeah, it sounds really cool, and I really like how you didn't go for an obvious one, because I think that it would be kind of obvious to go with 1,000 Nintendo and Sony and Microsoft IPs. You went with an indie one. That's pretty cool. I really like that too. I feel like it could be a hit even without like people not even knowing the game series.
Yeah.
Like I feel that it could be one of those examples.
Yeah. I was thinking about that. And speaking of indie games, there was supposed to be or I think it's still happening. A Cuphead animated series from Netflix, I think.
Yeah, it's still happening.
That sort of thing inspired me too, and I want to watch that too.
Yeah, they were talking about how funny it's gonna be when the series comes out, and it's digitally animated. When the game was like all hand drawn.
Right.
So yeah, it's one of those funny little things in life. So yeah, I don't really have another pitch, but if you have another one, I would be very glad to hear it.
I mean, I had another one, but it was kind of obvious. I was going to talk about Star Fox animated series and sort of expand in what they did already with the shorts for Star Fox Zero. I think Star Fox Zero Begins or Starts or something like that. I really like those, and I wanted them like the same studio that did it. The Japanese style animation, an anime made by Shigeru Miyamoto. I would love that.
I'm trying to find this animation that someone did. They have oh yes, it's here. Star Fox, Fox in Space. It's called. It's really cool. Little. I think it's like 2 episodes only, and they do this really like dark take on Star Fox.
Oh, nice.
I kind of wanted to mention that if someone wants to check it out. It's kind of fun, kind of adult as well. It's supposedly like years after the Star Fox games.
Nice.
But talking about your pitch, it's one of those series that I don't know why they kind of gave us a taste of them, and that's it.
Yeah, right.
We have Star Fox Zero. We have the Pikmin shorts. There's a bunch of those, and all of them with some involvement by Shigeru Miyamoto.
Right.
Apparently, he's a super talented director.
I think he's I don't know if he's directing or co-producing or something the Mario animated movie, right, by Illumination.
I think that he's a consultant. I don't think he's directing, but
okay.
But
yeah,
you know, he directed the Pigman shorts, which are,
Yes.
in my opinion, like some of the best animated shorts I've seen.
Mhm.
And it's like, why don't we see more of him?
Right.
But yeah, Star Fox, I think that you can do a lot of things with it. I think that Star Fox Zero is one that it was like the perfect adaptation because it's a retelling of Star Fox Zero with more details to the story.
Yeah.
So it was a perfect starting point, and you could go into all kinds of directions with that. But yeah, it didn't go anywhere, and yeah, it would be
Yeah, it was
it would be cool to see it go somewhere at some
Yeah.
point, you know. So yeah, I guess that's it for my I was gonna say predictions. I'm so entangled on that. I guess
Right.
that's it for my pitches. How about you?
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, so guys, we hope you liked this episode. We know it's a little bit different. We weren't discussing any gaming news and whatnot, but
Right.
we thought that this would be a cool idea to kind of spark some conversation.
Yeah.
At least for me, I really love to like leave my imagination, going and going. So let us know if you like these ideas. If you didn't like them, also let us know. It's fine.
Yeah.
And most especially, I would love to hear your ideas. If you have like a Splatoon cartoon, or a Pokemon anime. Oh wait,
Right.
uh,
Still going.
still going. It's almost as old as I am.
Right.
So, guys, thank you so much for watching. As always, if you like this video, please do hit the like button and subscribe if you like to see more videos like this one. This is Back with Trevino, and today I was joined by Laura Chapa.
Thanks for watching, guys.
Until next time, bye bye, guys.